God does not exist because?
God does not exist because?
God does not exist because?
No. Yes, the only cure is Jesus Christ. But atheism in and of itself is completely irrational. So, how have you determined that there is no God?
I'm not sure I have determined that.
So your atheism is irrational?
I don't know if that has anything to do with determined God or not.
Atheism is the position that there is no God. If you hold to atheism rationally, you should be able to provide a basis for how you determine it to be the case that there is no God.
Yeah, but I don't know if there is a God.
Okay, so then you're trying to posit a position of neutrality that you neither affirm nor deny God's existence.
No, I don't think you can be neutral to that question.
Okay, good. Then you can't say that you don't know. It's either that you affirm or you deny the existence of God. You obviously don't affirm the existence of God, so then you're in the position of denial. So is your atheism is it defensible?
From my point of view,
Are you able to tell us how it is the case that there is no God?
no, because you believe in God.
Okay, so then you don't have a base. You don't have. It's not about my belief here. It's about whether or not you can tell us how it is the case that there is
Yeah,
no God, but you
I
cannot
can't
provide.
tell, I can't tell you about the non-God world because you believe in God. You will
Okay, God
never
does not exist.
accept.
God does not exist. God does not exist because.
I will never say that.
Are you neutral towards the existence of God, Fro?
No.
Okay, so that means you affirm that there is no God.
For me, it doesn't exist. Yeah,
Okay, God does not exist because.
I don't believe in him because
God. So God
I
doesn't
have
exist because you don't believe in him.
yeah, I have not personally seen any proof of God. Me personally.
Yeah, that's the argument from ignorance fallacy. So
Yeah,
essentially, the fallacy is as follows: something is false because it has not been demonstrated to me to be true. That
sure.
doesn't follow. Okay, so do you have a non-fallacious line of reasoning that would falsify the existence of God?
Not that you would accept. No,
Okay, so why are you holding to an irrational position? Why would somebody do that?
it's not irrational for me.
Are you able to tell us how it is the case that there is no God? Is there a
For
rational
me,
basis?
yes,
Okay, what's the
yes, for me.
rational basis that there is no?
But
What's the
again,
rational basis that there is no God?
you will never accept my explanation.
What's the rational basis that there is no God, for?
From your point of view, none.
It's not about It's not about from my point of view. I'm asking you what's the rational basis because I asked you earlier. God does not exist because. Then you
Yeah,
said you didn't. You couldn't answer that non-fallaciously. But then you're
no.
telling me you still have a rational. You're telling me you still have a rational basis for your God denialism.
Yeah, from
I
my
want to
point
know
of
from
view, I
you.
do. Yeah,
Hold
but
on
you
one
will
second.
never accept that.
1 second. Okay, yeah. So you told me that you had a basis for your atheism. Okay,
Hmm.
that would falsify the existence of God. I asked you to
No, not
present it. I
falsify.
asked you to
I didn't
present
say
it.
falsify. You said falsify.
Okay, you believe God is false, right?
I believe personally that God doesn't exist.
Right.
Does not
So then God is
make him
false.
false.
Yes, it is. That's
Well,
what falsity is.
well, it depends what God you're referring to.
I'm referring to God as that which is ultimate and the mind. So
Yeah,
you told me earlier you don't believe you
I
believe
don't
God doesn't
see any proof
exist.
of that. Yeah, I don't see any proof of that. No,
Yeah. So it doesn't follow from that there is no God.
no, I agree.
Okay, and
for
furthermore,
everybody.
if you're
Yes.
going to be consistent with your own standard, if you need proof for the God world, what's your proof for the not God world that you have that would lead you to the conclusion that the not God world is true?
Absolutely nothing other than
So
me
then
not
your position
seeing
is complete. So then your position is completely arbitrary and irrational.
for
You're not
everybody
only
else but
you're
me.
not only
Yes.
you're not on no, but the problem is that you're not only irrationally holding that God does not exist, but you're
Mm.
violating your own standard for that when you try to posit that the not God worldview is true and you don't even have proof for that.
Why do you think I have standards for God?
If you're being consistent and non-arbitrary, then you would have standards by definition.
Why
Are
would
you
I
being
have
consistent?
standards? Why
Are you
would
being
I have
consistent with your reasoning?
why would I have standards for something I don't believe in?
Because you're irrational. Listen, that's not the issue. Listen, you just told me that you had a standard for your
Yes.
non-belief in God because you're not being arbitrary according to you. Okay?
Sure.
That standard is that it hasn't been proven to you. I just asked
Yes.
you about 30 seconds ago, what is your proof for that which is ultimate and not God? And you said you had absolutely nothing
Mm.
by way of proof that you could present to me. So it follows then that if your requirement for belief in God
Mm.
is that there must be proof,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Then if you're going to be consistent with that, then the not God worldview would also need to have proof by that same standard. But you don't have proof
No, it doesn't.
as
No,
per
it
your own
doesn't.
admission.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it would.
because the non-God world doesn't need proof.
Yes, it does. The non-God world holds that there is either nothing ultimate or that there is something else that's ultimate that's not a mind. So yes, it does need proof. It's propositional in
No,
nature.
no, because it could be another explanation.
Yeah, then whatever that explanation is, it needs proof, and you don't have it as per
Nobody has
your
it.
concession earlier.
Yeah, nobody
That's not
has it.
okay. Okay, you can just speak for yourself at the moment. Okay, you don't have proof, and that's what we're talking about
Right.
you. We're not talking about me or anyone else. We're talking about you.
Yeah,
You don't
nobody
have
has
proof.
proof.
You don't have proof, Fro. You don't
Yes.
have proof for the position that you need to have proof for, right? Because if you're going to be consistent, right, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you apply one standard to this, right, the God worldview, then you have to apply the same standard to what you believe in. Okay. Otherwise, you're operating off of a double standard, um, and you're not being consistent. You're just being arbitrary and irrational. Okay.
What?
Now it seems to be the case that that's what you're doing because when
Mm.
I asked you, why don't you believe in God? How is it the case that there is no God? You said there is no proof. Then it
Hmm.
must be the case that you have proof for your God belief or for your not God belief, but you don't.
Why?
So you're being arbitrary.
Why?
Why what?
Why do I have to bring proof of not God?
Uh, because you claim to be a rational and rational individual and consistent.
Okay, can you bring me proof of non-fairies?
That's not the issue here. You believe that God does not exist, right?
Do you believe that fairies doesn't exist?
Fro, that's not an answer to my question. First of all, appealing to fairies is not even. First of all, fairies are not in the same ontological playing field or category as God. So
How
appealing
do
to
you know
them
that?
as
How do you
a
know that?
by definition.
Oh, okay. My fairy
So
is the
so
same as your God.
so so hold on a minute. When we're talking about fairies,
Hmm.
we're not talking about that which is ultimate to all of reality. It's not what we're talking
Okay,
about. We're
it
talking
is
about
in
some
my world.
contingent,
In my world, it is.
some contingent. Let me finish, please. Some contingent creature. But you're again doing the bait and switch here because the topic of discussion or the point of discussion here is your atheism and whether or not you can rationally defend it and whether or not you're consistent with your standard when applying
What
it
if
across
I
the board
can't
between atheism
rationally defend it?
and
What
theism.
then, Jay?
Then you're being arbitrary
Okay, cool. Then what?
and irrational.
Then what?
Are you telling me that are you telling me that you're irrational?
Does it okay? Does me make it? Does it make the truth claim of God more or less plausible if I'm irrational or not?
You being rational or irrational has nothing to do with whether or not God actually exists.
Aha!
Did I claim it did?
Perfect.
Did I claim it did?
Then I don't care to answer it.
No, because right now I'm not talking to you that the Christian God or any other God exists. I'm only
Okay.
asking you about your atheism. So right now we're not
Give
even
me
talking about that.
one
So
single
Fro,
one
is your
single proof,
atheism
please.
irrational? Fro, is your atheism irrational?
Yes, as you're
Okay.
irrational.
Are you a rational individual?
No, and neither are you.
Okay, so you don't prefer to have rational conclusions drawn over irrational ones?
No, because nobody can be rational, neither you or me.
Okay,
Are you
so then
happy?
that statement itself is an irrational statement and arbitrary, according to
Yes,
your own
because everything
admission.
is irrational.
Good, then don't then
Definitely.
then then you shouldn't be speaking on that matter then if you're being irrational.
Okay, okay. Says who?
Says rationality.
Okay.
If you're not rational, if you're
Why?
not rational,
How does rationality
why are you asking me
exist?
how does anything? Now you're employing rational thought, asking me
Yeah.
reasons for things
How
and
does
how things happen. I
rationality
don't need to tell
work?
you anything. I don't need to
Okay.
tell you anything
You don't have to
because
tell me
you're
anything
irrational.
because
Because you're
yes,
irrational,
and so
right? So
you
why are
see
you
it
asking me why?
because you're also irrational.
Yeah, no, that statement is also arbitrary according to your own standard.
Yes, yes.
All right.
As
So I think I
is
think I
every
think we've I
statement.
think we've I think we've I think we've gotten what we want here. When it comes
What did
to
you want?
expressing. Um, with regards to the discussion with atheists, showing that atheism is irrational.
Yes. So
I think
is
I've thoroughly
Christianity. So is Christianity.
yeah,
Prove me
but that
otherwise.
statement itself is also irrational, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Then you don't have a base. Then there is no basis for you to even say that. It's a baseless statement.
Okay, cool. Now what?
All right.
Now
Um,
what? Can we
what do you
move
mean now?
on?
What?
Can we move on? Can I ask you how God exists?
Sure, but just keep in mind, if you're atheist, or if your atheism is irrational, and if you're an irrational individual, then there shouldn't be a need
Yes.
for me to explain to you why God exists.
Cool. But I want it to exist. So here's your one and only opportunity. Please
Hmm.
save me from hell, Jay.
All right. So the Christian God is
Rational
a
because.
God within the Christian worldview, and he has certain properties.
Okay.
And for one, God has revealed his existence to us, okay, through
How?
many different
How?
forms. I'm
How?
explaining it to you. Please do not overtalk me. There are
Point
many
to
different
one
there are many
point and
different
then we can talk
categories.
about that one point.
Can you please stop overtalking me?
Yes, if you bring
There,
up
there's
one and
so
one point
Fro
so we
Fro.
can
If you
go
don't
through it.
stop, Fro, if you don't stop, I'm gonna move you back to the audience.
Okay, you can
Okay?
do whatever you want.
I'm explaining this to you. The Christian God has revealed himself in multiple different ways, and
How?
typically this is broken down into two different categories: general revelation and special revelation. Or general revelation is also called natural revelation. That would be that kind of revelation. The first kind is things that God has created, right? So the earth would be general revelation. Your and my own rationality, our reasoning, our self consciousness. Those are instances of the general revelation of God. Then the other category, like special revelation, would be things like God's direct communication with individuals, okay, throughout history. So things like God speaking to prophets, or giving people visions, or even in
Okay.
the person of Jesus Christ and his ministry on earth, that would be special revelation. The Bible would be special revelation. Okay, so those are ways we know that God
Cool.
exists. Okay, because God has revealed Himself. Now we can also
What do
show
you
and
say?
demonstrate. We can
Can I
also
ask
we
you
can
something
also
about that?
demonstrate.
Can I
Hmm.
ask you something about that? Because
Yeah.
it's funny how he revealed himself. He revealed himself to this guy called Joseph Smith. He created Mormonism. Why are you not a Mormon, Jay?
Mormonism is internally incoherent.
How do you know that?
Just look at the internal content of the worldview.
Okay, how do you know that?
How do I know it's like point of contradiction?
Yes.
Okay. Mormonism, the Mormon belief states that they hold to the biblical Christian belief, along with
Yes.
some other tenets of Mormonism.
Yeah.
The Bible teaches that God is, for one, is eternal, that God is
Yes.
ultimate, and Mormonism does
Yeah.
not. Mormonism teaches that God is not ultimate. So there's a contradiction. That's one of many
That's not true.
contradictions.
That's not true.
It is true.
Okay. How do you know that? Have you talked to Mormons?
I've listened to what they say. I've listened to Joseph Smith and his things like King Follett Discourse, where he says that we have supposed that God has been eternal from eternity past to eternity future. I'm going to crush that notion. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he says. And
Yeah.
that was at a funeral, and that's one of his biggest speeches and sermons that he's ever given. And that's not even that's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Mormonism. You have
Okay.
issues where they are just inconsistent biblically when it comes to things like salvation. It's a mess. Okay, so it's a cult. It's obviously false. Joseph Smith just had. I mean, yeah. I mean, he was a con man.
I
It's
don't
obviously
disagree
false.
with that. Okay, so
Okay.
how did you determine that? You prove that out. Okay, so let's say the Bible didn't exist, right? Would you be able to determine if the Mormon belief was false or not without the Bible?
Yeah, because the Christian God has certain properties. I was going to get to next.
So you would be able to
So the
say
Christian,
Mormonism was. No, no. Let me be
no,
clear.
no, no, no. Look,
That
look,
was
look,
a.
look.
I had a
The
question.
Christian
Yes.
God has provided us with revelation, okay, about Himself and about the world that we have come to know that God exists. Right? Outside of God's revelation, we can't know anything about God. Okay? Outside of God's
So
revelation, we don't have a basis for even our own epistemology,
just
in general.
please let me ask this question. Please let me. I beg you. So you refuse every other worldview but the Christian worldview, right?
Yeah. So do you.
Every other
Or I
worldview.
mean, you reject every other worldview except for the worldview that you hold to.
Do I?
So yes,
Oh, okay, cool.
because worldviews are mutually exclusive from each other. You have worldview X and you have worldview not X. Okay, worldview not X
So
is mutually
if
exclusive
it's
with worldview X. So you do the same thing with your own worldview.
so it's
So you're not
if
in a
it's
special category.
exclusive, if it's exclusive, is it personal?
I don't know what that means. You have to explain that
Mm,
question. I don't know what the question means.
okay. Is faith personal?
Is is what?
Is faith personal?
What does personal mean?
Uh, when you believe in God, is that your personal belief, or is it
Yes.
universal?
No, it's personal.
Okay,
All beliefs
is
are
every
personal.
all
At
beliefs
least,
are personal? Are you a
yeah.
hundred and are you 110% sure of that?
That I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head where there's a belief that
It's
it's like a
universal.
hive mind.
Are you
And there are
are you
beliefs that people
100%?
share. There are beliefs that people share. But if you're gonna, okay, look, get to the point. To your question, please.
So if it is not if it isn't universal and only personal, you have a problem with the Bible because it says in the Bible that everybody knows that God exists, and you just admitted that it's personal and not universal.
That's why I was trying to clarify when I said that there are beliefs that people share and they can hold to propositions, the same proposition at the same time. By universal belief, and I actually made this clear, I don't know if you were listening, but I said we're not like a hive mind where we're thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time, where like our minds are connected to
But
each
we
other in that
should,
sense.
but we should, according
No,
to
no,
you,
listen,
because
Fro,
God is universal.
Listen, please. I want to know from you what is your basis for even saying any of this, right? When it comes to God's existence, when it comes
Uh-huh.
to me explaining to you that God exists and you deny it, but at the same token you tell me that you're an irrational atheist. So none of what you're saying right now is rational or
Okay,
consistent. All right.
I will accept God on one premise.
Yeah, we're not gonna play this game, Fro.
No, no, I will accept God on one premise that I'm allowed to choose whatever God I want.
Okay, Fro, is there anything else you want to say before I move you
Yeah.
down? Go ahead.
Uh, I have one question. If God isn't universal, don't you have an explanation problem?
I don't even know. You see, these questions you're asking, they're not, the terms you're using are very ill defined. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so God controls everything, right?
God is in sovereign control of everything. Yeah.
Yes, so he's universal.
If that is that what you mean? Is that what you take to be universal? That's universal means that you're in control of everything.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Could you agree to that?
That's not how I think of the word universal, but okay,
Okay,
if
well,
that's your
how would
proprietary
you
definition,
define
that's fine.
universal?
Look, it's your proprietary definition. I can work with that. So God is
Okay, so
universal in the sense that He's control of everything. Go ahead.
right, so if God is universal, it shouldn't be individual faith. It should be one God that gives faith to everyone, right?
God that gives faith to everyone.
Yeah, it says in the Bible that everybody
Like
believes in
faith is a
God.
gift. Yes, yes,
Yes,
sure. Go ahead.
yes, yes. So
Hmm.
if everybody is given this God, gift, why are people denying it?
Because they love their own autonomy. I'm not a Calvinist, so I don't. I believe that God can open the door for someone to believe, and the person can still choose to reject God.
Okay. How does he open the door?
By presenting Himself, by revealing Himself. The Romans 1 says that God's uh, attributes can be clearly seen because God has shown it to them, and that no one's going to have an excuse on Judgment Day. So God has given everyone enough knowledge to know that He exists to one extent or
Okay.
another.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's everything I wanted to know, Jay. Thanks for the
Okay.
conversation.
No, no problem. All right. Let's see here. We do have a lot of people in the audience. So if you're an atheist or a non-believer, you're more than welcome to come up and yeah, we can talk about your atheism.